Now back to tonight's episode and guest. Tonight's episode is Get Published Today. Ready to realize the dream of a finished book? Yes, I am. For that topic, I'm happy to share wonderful wisdom of today's guest with our wonderful listeners. If you have always wanted to write a book, you will love this show. Our guest will take you inside the world of publishing to show you how to quickly and efficiently get published in 90 days or less. Wow. We will talk about agent submissions, getting the deal of a lifetime, how to hit the bestseller list, and finally, if you publish your book, can you quit your job? Well, I'm not sure about that part. But anyway, so Penny C. Sansevieri, CEO and founder of Author Marketing Experts, Inc., is a best-selling author and internationally recognized book marketing and media relations expert. She's an adjunct professor teaching self-publishing for NYU. Her company is one of the leaders in the publishing industry and has developed some of the innovative social media internet book marketing campaigns. She's the author of 5 books, including Red Hot Internet Publicity, which has been called the leading guide to everything Internet. AME is the first marketing and publicity firm to use Internet promotion to its full impact through the virtual author tour, which strategically works with social networking sites, Twitter, blogs, book videos, and relevant sites to push an author message into the virtual community and connect with the sites related to the book's topic, positioning the author in his or her market. Amy has 10 recent books topped the bestseller list, including New York Times, USA Today, and Wall Street Journal. To find out more about Penny C. Sansevieri and her amazing work, visit her website, www.amarketingexpert.com. I spelled amarketingexpert.com. Wow. Welcome back, Penny.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I am really honored to be here.
Oh, wow, you sound so clear, and it's hard to believe that you didn't have a voice a lot yesterday.
Yeah, it really was not above a whisper, and I've never lost my voice before. And it was a little frightening, and I thought, "Oh my gosh." And I have Thanksgiving tomorrow, and the holidays, and I thought, "Oh, I can't be sick right now." So, but all is well.
It is a Thanksgiving there.
It is Thanksgiving is here tomorrow, and I will tell you that we just have so much to be thankful for.
Yeah, that's right.
We truly, truly do.
And it's like what do you call that? Is a sunshine before storm? I mean, a storm before sunshine, or something like that. So, God was testing your voice to make sure that it works for today. Anyway, so I've got tons of questions, and
go for it.
Yeah, my book is I finished final review, and but I found a few grammatical error or mistake in spelling. So I let them know and create space. Should be publishing hopefully within a week or two.
Oh my goodness, sure. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it is. And so that's why it's such a perfect timing to have you on the show right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I know I have a lot of questions about those things, about how you promote and how you're gonna plan or stage your to the world. But before I go into that one, we always ask one question first. About your childhood. What were your childhood dreams?
I wanted, my parents were both entrepreneurs, and I really wanted to be in business. and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I remember as a child playing with books and pretending to be a librarian. Now, I didn't exactly become a librarian, but I've always loved to read, and I've always loved books and storytelling.
Wow.
And we live in such an amazing time where anybody can write a book and tell their story.
Yeah.
That's where I had no idea. I mean, I didn't sort of, at 8 go, I think I want to be a book publicist. I just knew that I wanted to be in business and I loved books, and all of a sudden it came together in a very beautiful way.
Wow. I mean, we can say we both are successful people because when your vocation is your vacation, that's the successful life, right? So.
It is. And, Jin, it's funny you mention that because that's one of my favorite sayings is do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life.
I know. I agree with that.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I can't tell you how fortunate that I really am. And I'm not just saying this because we're on the eve of Thanksgiving here, but I get to work with some extraordinary people. I mean, you've come into my life, and your story is remarkable. I mean, it just is. It's I read it and I think, oh my gosh, there's no such thing as a bad day what this woman has been through. And how lucky to be able to work with and help people tell their stories. I mean, what an awesome thing to be able to do day in and day out.
Yeah, and the best part about it, I would say, is because of what you are doing. There are so many people who feel lost or hopeless, and they feel so depressed. And they rise up. And they find their own dreams, and they want to do, make something out of their lives, and that's what you are doing, being a media, to them. I'm a medium.
Well, and I think, at the end of the day, Jin, people really just want to be heard. I mean, some people want to write their memoirs just to share with their family, and other people want to write, a story that will change the world, as you have done. And then you have the group that's sort of in between. They think, well, I have a story. Let's see what happens. And it's everybody's right to be able to get out there and be heard.
Yeah, and I am so grateful for what you are doing. And now let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
So what's the biggest secret in online promotion?
Well, I will say that the biggest secret in any kind of promotion, whether it's online or offline, is you must know what your audience wants. And many times I find that our authors they almost get too close. They show up at our doorstep a little too close to their own message, so they don't really know. They think they know what their audience wants, but it isn't really true or authentic. And so we work with them a lot of times to just really sort of talk them through what their audience wants. And here's why this matters. Because when you start to give your audience exactly what they want, your audience will beat a path to your door. And it is not until, you really realize it. Let me give you an example. Last year I worked with a gal, and she came to me because she said, she goes, I've got this Twitter following, and there's 100 people, and I keep Twittering, and I don't know what I'm doing, and this is just confusing, and I'm thinking of giving up. So I said to her, well, let me ask you, what are you talking about? And so she told me. And I said, well, you're really going after the wrong audience for this. I said, let's try this experiment. I said, what can it hurt, right? I said, you're already about ready to give it one more chance. A year later, she has 18,000 people following her on Twitter.
Oh my God.
So that's the difference, right? When you give people what they want, they will give you what you want, but you've got to first give them what they want. And that, people say, well, is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? Is it YouTube? Do I have a website? Really, yes, maybe it's all those things, but first you must know what your audience wants.
Yeah. And but how can an author find the perfect market for their book?
Well, they need to work with somebody. Well, they either some authors may know because they have a business and they've done research, et cetera, et cetera. But some authors, and I would say the majority of authors need to work with, somebody who can be really objective. Now, when you're working with somebody who can be objective, do not work with anybody that you know. In other words, don't work with a neighbor, a friend, a relative, because they all they all want the best for you, and they oftentimes can't be objective. So you want to work with somebody who can really sort of sit down with you and go, okay, well, I know that this is what you want to give your audience, but this is really what they want to hear. Sort of like, somebody going out with a diet message, in a diet book. Well, what is it about the diet market that's going to make you unique? Well, most people who go on diets do it because they have to and they don't really want to. So you first have to make it easy. You have to understand the motivators, So that piece of it can be done in an hour, sometimes a little bit more. And that I'll tell you something, Jin, that will save an author thousands of dollars. I have seen authors spend. I had one author who spent $60,000 on a campaign that was completely directed at the wrong audience.
Wow.
Yeah. So you think that sounds like a lot of money, but you've been out there now and you've priced things and a few wrong turns and all of a sudden you're going, oh my gosh, where's all my marketing money?
Yeah. Well, let's say, specifically using my case as an, example. And for me, in Korea, my audience are from, literally from fourth grader to 70-year-old men and above, men and women both. So how, people, ask, be more specific about your target audience. But for me, it's almost anybody and everybody, whoever want to have a little better life than, what they have right now. So how do I narrow it down when you start advertising my book and who will be our target audience?
Jin, that is actually an excellent question because, yes, everybody, it's kind of like, let me give you an example of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And obviously Jack Canfield.
Yes, I do.
When they went out to market this book, now there are Chicken Soup. Now, believe me, I have the greatest respect for what they do, but there is Chicken Soup for everybody's soul, right? For the equestrian soul, the plumber's soul, the violinist soul. There's Chicken Soup is for everybody, right? There's all these books, but it did not start out that way. They were very, very clear about the market that they identified, and they realized that their audience, right, even though they wanted world domination, which they pretty much have now, they started out with a very focused group of women. Women are your primary buyers. That's the first place that we start with you. Yes, men will read it. Yes, young women might read it. But we really want to go after the larger demographic, the women, the baby boomers, the women who are looking at their lives and thinking, because they're at that age, right, where they're thinking, gosh, you know what, I wish I could have done more.
Yeah.
And when you start with that core audience, then it builds out. Then you get that pass-through factor. You get the women who hand it to their boyfriends, or who hand it to their fathers, or who hand it to their sister's teenage daughter, or something like that. And the same thing happened with Chicken Soup for the Soul. These guys, they said, okay, look, our audience is this particular age group. They probably, Hallmark is the gift shopping. They like they're the audience that likes the feel-good stories, the short stories, and they were very, very critical about who they went after. And if you stay that focused initially, you will expand out. But you've got to first corral that audience, that isolated, focused audience. And see, a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people say, I want to go after everybody. Yeah. Everybody is too broad of a target to hit right out of the gate.
Yeah. Penny, just hold that thought.
Yeah.
Because it's time for another break.
Oh, my gosh. Sorry.
Yeah. Time flies. So we must be having fun.
We are.
Anyway, so you are listening to Jin Robertson at American Dreams the Sky. Welcome back, Penny.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So we were talking about how to choose the target audience. Yeah. And I think what you are saying makes really good sense. And, that could usually women are a talker, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So once they like it, as you mentioned, that they will, spread the news to not only among their women friends or relatives, but their husbands and, sons or brothers or whatever, right?
Well, and that's really it. Do you know how, do you remember how excited that you got by a particular book? And the reason you got excited about it was because it felt like it was written for you.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get people excited about a book, you've got to give them the kind of book that they want. And so by going after your audience, et cetera, the rest sort of is kind of history. And that's why it's so important.
Yeah, it is, really. And so what kind of systems or method do you use in, once you have some author asking you to help them to promote their books? What kind of strategies or methods do you use in general or more specifically?
Well, it depends on the programs that they've chosen to go with.
Uh-huh.
Now, about 8 years ago, we started doing a lot online because I really saw that as the wave of the future. And at that time, nobody was really doing anything dedicated. Mm-hmm. So, the playing field was really open. Mm-hmm. I recommend for any author, and in particular, I know we're doing this for your book, to do an aggressive online campaign. Uh-huh. Because, the Internet is, even though, yes, it's great to do radio and television and print, and all those things are wonderful, but I will tell you that most of those things will not happen unless you have a strong foothold online.
Yeah.
So that's part of why the Internet is so important. And the other thing is that, everybody, and even though people say, well, we don't read blogs and this and that, but everybody goes online for information. And that's the other reason why you want to know who your audience is, because you want to be able to get in front of them, and give them and deliver to them what they need. But you don't want them to just find you. You want to go where they're at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And so you use the Facebook and Twitter and blogs, and what other things do you use for to promote any?
Well, we recommend, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and obviously the author has to have their own website. Now, I will tell you that the secret behind why we do this. And we do this to get exposure for the author. We just actually last week had another book hit the bestseller list. That's our 11th in less than 2 years. Uh-huh. There is a method. There's a strategy. There are never any guarantees in book publicity. There are never. People say, "Well, how do you sell books?" Well, you know what? Nobody knows. If anybody knew, they'd be making a fortune selling that information. But what we have found over the years, and we've been in business for over 11 years, is that when you get enough exposure for an author, then, you get it in front of enough buyers, enough exposure generally equates to book sales. And so that's what we look for. So in order to get that exposure, we also look at how Google ranks. And Google ranks using two strategies. They use relevance to the search. So how relevant is your website to the search that somebody sort of plugged into Google? And is your site an authority? Now, most people don't know how to make an authority site. They don't know how to turn their site into an authority site. So what we do is that's what we do, is we get out there and we create so much buzz that site starts to rise in the search ranking. And that at the end of the day is the big secret. You've got to start showing up when people are looking for something online. By golly, you've got to start showing up in searches, because otherwise you're going to languish in obscurity. Does that make sense?
Yes, you do, definitely. And this is so exciting for me because it's so immediate to me, And can you show me about what you've done with those people who you put them on bestseller list, and just in generally, what kind of things you did for were they famous already before you took them on, or were they just novice or unknown like me in America?
Well, some of them were unknown. Some of them, it was sort of a mixture. Some of them were unknown. Some of them were actually given up by their publisher. And some of them were, some of them had some, a couple of them had some help from the publisher. Most of them did not. So it really is it's a very, very focused strategy. So, for example, Jin, for you, we would take pieces from the book, the most unbelievable stories. And, frankly, your entire book from start to finish is sort of like, I just don't know how this woman just is just unbelievably successful and doing so well. But we would take pieces, and that's what we would push out online in front of the right people, so in front of your right groups. And then we also get people talking about a book.
Yeah.
So, for example, we have what's called street teams, and the street teams go out and they start talking about the book. Now, they are neither employed by AME or paid by us. They are no different than book reviewers. They love books, and they go out and they talk about the book. Now, what somebody else says about your book is 1,000 times more effective than you can say.
I agree. That worked. That's how it worked in Korea, too.
Yeah, absolutely, right? I mean, you've seen this because you've already toppled the bestseller list in Korea.
Yeah, it sold over 500,000 copies, over 500,000 already in that small community.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so there is, so there's a piece to this that there is nothing. In our work, we take nothing for granted, and we don't take risks because we've seen too many risky campaigns. Like, for example, placing an ad in a magazine, placing an ad in a newspaper. There are, there are better places to spend your money because ads generally don't sell books.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in Korea, I was lucky because, the major Korean TV station made a documentary of my life before even the book came out.
Yeah.
So they were, it was a major hit, and it kind of almost shook the country, I understand. And then publishers were just swarming over, and they were investing, almost $1 million on my book.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago already. And so that's how, I guess, it worked much faster. And then I became an overnight celebrity and a hero. And then I got invited to TVs and radios and, all those. So I guess that really helped. But in America, I'm kind of starting out as a novice. I think one advantage of me, even in America, is that there are 2.5 million Korean descendants living in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be another one of our target audience, right? Yeah.
Well, absolutely, that could be that because they are also book buyers. And most definitely that is a bit, and these are people who probably really are just they're going to revere you as their hero because of first off who you are, what you've done, the fact that you're from Korea, and I think that's a huge market to go after. So that's another thing. Never forget to go. That would be sort of considered not really a subset market, like a secondary market.
Yeah.
But that is another big area for you as well.
Mm-hmm. Because to them, in their heart, they already love me, and they already, think me as one of their heroes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you don't want to overlook that.
Yeah, that's true. And, but time really flies.
Oh, my gosh, look at the time, honey.
Yeah. So usually I use the fourth segment for my, to read part of my autobiography. But today, with you, we're going to use the fourth segment to, continue to talk about these issues because your message is so important, and I am so excited to listen to what you are saying right now.
Oh, thank you.
So let's go for another short station break. And you're listening to Jin Robertson at American Dreams. The Sky is the Limit. Our guest is amazing Penny C. Sansevieri, CEO and founder of Author Marketing Experts Inc. So stay tuned for more exciting talks. We shall return before you know it. Yeah, and we are at the final stage, and we've got about 8 or 9 minutes to talk, probably, max, probably. So can you tell us a little bit about, the steps you take in the good social media plan and maybe what the authors can do to help for the campaign?
Well, the first piece of the social media plan is, again, figuring out where the audience is. So, for most authors, yes, their audience will be on Facebook, and their audience probably will also be on Twitter. So that's always a great thing. If they're good in front of the camera, like you probably are, then I would recommend also doing a YouTube channel. So the first is identifying the author's goals, with the audience, the author's goals, those types of things. But I really recommend every author should have a website, Facebook fan page, Twitter, and we can come back to that if you want to, if there's time at the end of the show. But I will say that in order for an author to be successful, you should not only hire a company that a marketing company that you believe in and who believes in you, but you should also be engaged in your own success. And Jin, I will tell you that one of the reasons that I pursued you as aggressively as I did, because you know that after I met you at that conference in San Diego, I did pursue you, because I knew that you were out there marketing yourself. You were speaking. You know what it takes to be successful. You would never just hire a company and sort of sit on your couch and go, okay, now when are they going to make me famous? You're out there and you're knocking on doors. And that's really what it takes, regardless of who you hire, you have to be engaged in your own success. You have to be, if you want to do speaking, then do that. Figure out what you want to do and then do that. For some people, it's just blogging. For other people, it's, and yes, I understand that everybody's out there thinking, well, but I wrote a first book, I have a second book to write. That's great. You can write the second book, but first you have got, it's like putting your kid through college, right? You've got to give your book a college try. You've got to get out there and give it the best possible, quote-unquote, college education that you can, and you do that by hiring a company you trust in and by getting out there and doing the work. And digging in.
I am ready. I'm ready to go
anywhere. I know you are.
Anywhere.
I know you were ready when I met you in San Diego in October.
Yeah.
But does that make sense, though?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
If you don't make sense, I will ask you again.
I know. You will. You're very good about that. But yeah, really, I mean, you need to, and you know what? If you don't like to do something, then don't do it. If you don't like to do something, don't do it. If you want to do more of something or less of something else or whatever that is, find the right balance that works for you. What worked well for your neighbor or the other author in your writing group may not be right for you. So you want to find that right balance. And then, like I said, we all have day jobs. Most authors start out with day jobs. They're not going to sort of quit their jobs right at least not on the first book, generally speaking.
When I get my, fan letters and, there are millions of fans in Korea for me, and even they are spread into other countries, but still, when I get their fan letters and mentioning that my life story changed their life stories, and that's so exciting. And so writing book is so important, but my most passion is speaking. And I just love to speak in keynote speech, and I can see their eyes, kind of transforming right in front of my own eyes.
Yeah.
So using these books, not only inspiring others, but I would like to have that book lead me to get more speaking opportunities.
Yeah. And that's really that's a big piece of what that book will do for you. Is it will garner you more speaking opportunities. Absolutely. And so in speaking opportunities, even in Korea, I sell tons of books too. Of course you do. Yeah, and you will do the same when you speak here because, like I said, it's just you are such a seasoned speaker, and you have such a motivating story. And that's people. You know what? I'll tell you something, Jin. At the end of the day, people want to be inspired. People want hope. They want to be inspired, and they want to believe that anything is possible. And truly it is, but sometimes, and especially, in this yucky economy that we've been in for the last couple of years, all of the stuff going on in the world, people have lost faith a little bit. And I think that if you can come out there and talk to them and show them that regardless of what you're going through, there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and it's already happening even in America. When I gave a talk to the people on welfare, they promised that they're going to come out of that welfare and that they're going to give opportunity for their own children.
Yeah.
So, and the soldiers were signing up for evening classes, and this is just amazing. We have only about 2 minutes max now left. So, what would you like to talk about for the last 1 minute or two?
Well, I think that I would like to inspire anyone listening that if you have a book in you, by all means, get it out. And we have a ton of information, free information on our website about how to get published at amarketingexpert.com. You can go there. If you have something to say, by all means, say it. And, we're at the end of the year right now, and people are starting to think about their goals and their achievements and what are they going to do in the next year. If writing a book is one of those goals, you have a beautiful opportunity to do it. And if you can't write, hire somebody to write. We live in no excuses publishing now.
Yeah.
If you can't write a book, somebody else can write it for it, can write your story and just get out because, you never know whose life you're going to change.
Yep, I totally agree. And could you share your website with our listeners once again so that they know how to contact you?
Absolutely. It's amarketingexpert.com. That's singular, amarketingexpert.com. And I would love to hear from your listeners. And Jin, I want to thank you again so much for having me on your show. You are a remarkable woman, and I'm very honored to